Talk about a crusher. Yes! Oh!
Are you kidding me?
And gone!
Welcome back to the Squared Sports Podcast. I'm the host of this podcast, Lane Frank. We're now on episode 248. 248 episodes through, and I got a great one for you this week. Joining me on today's show is UTEP football head coach Scotty Walden. Coach Walden is the fourth youngest head coach in the FBS, a rising star in the coaching ranks in college football, and we're glad to have you on. Thanks, Coach.
Thanks, Lane, for having me, man. Since I've taken the job, I've wanted to be on the Schoolyard Sports Podcast, and I think it's incredible what you do, man. I know I've told you that off camera, but I think it's amazing what you've done since COVID to now, and episode 248. I just missed that 250 mark. I think that was going to be a special, but that's all good, man. I'm honored to be on. Thanks for having me.
I appreciate it. We've done these interviews in the past in radio, but I'm glad we were able to finally get it on Squared Sports. So you've kind of been in the news a little bit this week. Pete Thamel, ESPN's biggest college football insider, makes the report that you're donating 10% of your salary, $80,000 to the UTEP NIL fund, and that's something I haven't seen from a coach do in any sport, really. So were you inspired by somebody, something, and what's your main goal with that?
Well, it even goes back to even last year, Lane. We made a decision last year to donate, and I guess it just didn't get as public as this time around. We actually donated $70,000 of our salary last season to our NIL revenue sharing efforts. And, obviously through Callie and I and having conversations of upping that support, this year to 80. We did a family challenge, like a family match last year where we wanted to put 70 up and see if our donors, would match us. And they did that and exceeded that, which we were just so grateful for the people of El Paso and our loyal donors for doing that. This time around, we had already talked about kind of behind the scenes upping it. We weren't really sure what number we wanted to up it to. We did an event, with Speaky Rock Casino and, the Tribal Council and, Carl Maas and Larry Price, the GM and CFO out there have just been absolutely unbelievable for our program and the support that they've shown, as well as the Tribal Council. And so they put on a signing day event for us. And I was just blown away by, they didn't charge us for the event. You walk in there, you think you're at a wedding reception or something. They decked this thing out in orange and blue, and just the pride that they have in wanting to see our program be successful. Man, it just struck Callie and I's heart, and we were like, look, man, we already were going to up this, and the people at that event had already gotten the amount to around 80, and we were like, well, let's match it. So we matched it, and then Speaker Rock came in and gave more. It was just an unbelievable night. I think in this landscape of collegiate football, at programs like UTEP, at G6 programs, you have to get creative to be competitive. We are entering the Mountain West Conference, and I can't tell you that I know all the books, but I would suffice to say, just in the portal cycle in January, going through all of the dealings with agents and kind of hearing the numbers that are out there. It sounds like we're going to be pretty low when it comes to revenue sharing the Mountain West, maybe last. And so where does that support come from? We have to get creative, and that means that if I have to take a sacrifice and try to make that happen, then that's what I'm willing to do. Because as I said, since I've taken this job, we are 100% committed to finding a way to flip this program around. I've said it before: the city is second to none. It deserves a winner, and I want to walk away from my time here at UTEP, whenever that is, knowing that we gave everything we had to turn that program around. And so this is just a part of that.
I am curious because 5 years ago when NIL introduced, you think $80,000 would get you the number one player in the country. But I want to get in the technical side of it. What could $80,000 get you for a player?
If I'm being honest, you're in the tackles, quarterbacks, defensive linemen. 80,000 doesn't even get you in the conversation.
Really?
No.
No. It really has exploded NIL because, DeAndre Ayton, a few years ago, number one player in basketball, illegally paid $10,000, and it seems like the biggest thing in the world. But now, you have players like Bryce Underwood at Michigan making $12 million over his career.
Yeah.
Guys in college basketball making a ton. So it is interesting to see that, that is a very expensive price now for even, backups.
You're right. The numbers, Lane, year to year have absolutely exploded. When I first took the job here, at FCS, right, NIL wasn't at that time as we didn't run into that as much at Austin P. Like, yes, we ran into, hey, this school's giving me X, but it was like cost of attendance, stuff like that. When we got here and we started getting the portal, it was really evident that, man, 80,000 my first year here would have for sure gotten you a couple of prominent guys at this level.
Past few years.
But it's exploded. And so like even the jump from last year to this year, for us to get in the door in some of these conversations, you got to be north of six figures. Put it this way, give you some perspective. Like, if you're making, $300,000, $400,000 at a P5, that is second or third string money for those guys, and that's what I try to educate our guys on. Some listen, some don't, some have agents that, every one of our guys have agents. Every guy in the portal has an agent, and they're trying to, make a living for themselves and move guys around. And so, but 80,000, it certainly anything helps, but it's hard to get in the door. Some of those.
I'm gonna have to grill you a little bit right here because obviously it's very hard to start a program in college football, and what people might bring up to you is that NIL money isn't where it is because there have only been 5 games won in the past 2 years. But what I do know is El Paso is a town that will show up. There's only been 2 sellouts in my life, 2008 and 2022. But I do think that, it doesn't rain here, it doesn't snow here, it doesn't get cold in the fall.
Yeah.
If winds do come on the football field, then people will come and people will donate NIL. So, you spread a little bit of optimism there and just on insight there.
Oh, man. Again, this place, I take a ton of responsibility in, us, getting this program, to where it needs to be. And, we certainly have not done that yet. And I take full responsibility for that. I expected in year 2 to be, much more competitive than we were. I think that our program, we are all about right now providing clarity, simplifying. We've addressed the issues that we need to address to fix the problems that that have occurred. From a coaching standpoint, made some changes from player personnel. We have looked at everything in its entirety. And you're right. Just like any program, you start winning, right, like that solves a lot of problems. I think that the thing, some of this is you. That's why I appreciate anybody that donates any amount of money to our program is, they're donating, based on what they want this program to become. And they understand that they have more than ever, donor support has always been important, but more than ever, donors can directly impact our program more than ever, right? I think the thing is, we're not trying to have as much money as Texas Tech or Alabama or Michigan or anything. That's just not, we're not even speaking in the same ballpark, but we just want to get to a space where, we are competitive, with the conference that we're playing in. And it's relative.
Right. I kind of want to go into this right here. I'm not exactly like a football savant. I don't know what's going on everything and every play, but if you could give a little, a bit technical insight on what necessarily has happened the past 2 years and, how you guys have addressed to fix that.
Yeah, I think, it starts on the offensive side of the ball. I think it starts up front. I think the inability to run the ball has put a lot of strain on our quarterback, and so being able to bring in a guy like Andy Townsend, who was a part of one of the most explosive offenses in the country last year in North Texas, excited to bring him in as our offensive line coach. Bringing in a guy like Ray Pickering, who while Oregon State had a struggling year, had a 1,000-yard back, and to do that in the midst of a challenging season, and he's been with guys like Sarkisian to Texas, been at Buffalo. He's, again, just totally making a commitment of revamping that, those rooms. We need to get better. We brought in 7 total linemen in the portal, and we reallocated the distribution of, of our money to go get offensive linemen. That was a prime thing, to be able to go revamp that. And then we got to take care of the football. Yeah. We got to make better decisions at quarterback. We've got to coach better. We got to teach better. We have to provide clarity, which, that's something that we have, since the season has ended, getting together as a coaching staff, as these guys have gotten hired to create clarity within our offense and create clarity within our program and simplifying the system to where guys can go out, they can play fast. And even just seeing the first few run-throughs we've had, seeing the simplicity and the clarity that has been provided to those guys to where we can get that quarterback clear-minded and allow him to go execute and make clear and clean decisions, each play. And I think it brings, I know you're probably going to ask about it, but, when we sought out for a new quarterback in the portal,
right,
two things that we were looking for was playing experience, and specifically with playing experience was an ability to take care of the football. And then secondly was an alpha leader, somebody that's ready to come in and grab the bull by the horns, had that personality, because the guy that we signed obviously is going to be a guy that comes in and leads this thing, and we're not waiting around, and EJ Colson, I think we hit a home run with. I think we absolutely hit a home run. I'm really been super impressed with his leadership, but also his track record of taking care of the football has been something that we really were specific when looking for a guy.
It's something I thought of when you guys did sign EJ Colson was, no discredit to your past two quarterbacks, but their first career starts were the season openers of that year.
Yeah.
And, if EJ Colson does end up being the starter, he'll have experience under his belt, whether it's at UCF, whether it's even being at Purdue in the spring a little bit last year, and then Incarnate Word this year. So that's encouraging for UTEP fans.
It's a big point. That experience, we always say how important that is, but obviously that is paramount, right? And, a guy, you can already tell it's interesting to watch his comfort level already in the offense and picking things up, from his experience has really helped that. So certainly that's going to be a big help.
All right, I want to get a little bit into your coaching career. So we saw all these coaches in college football, whether it's, Lane Kiffin, who tries to be more of that play caller, and Lincoln Riley. But then there's those CEOs. Ryan Day, he said after they lost to Oregon, their national championship year, that he wanted to get away from the play calling. He wanted to work with his defense, and that's why they won the national championship.
Yeah.
Deion Sanders, he's not really calling plays for Colorado. He's more in that CEO role. What makes you want to stay on as the play caller for UTEP? And, does it make you feel more involved on the field?
I see a collaborative effort. Last year was the, kind of giving some insight behind the scene. That was the most I'd really stepped away, from the offense, to be honest, because I really felt like there was a lot of other things that I needed to, adhere to in our program. So we really got to a collaborative effort, where, Coach Kala was, really involved and at times, calling the game. And I thought he did a fantastic job. And I'm very, thankful for his time here at UTEP. And obviously, chose to go to Missouri State, and very, very excited for his career. And but it's going to be a collaborative effort. We brought in Lanier Sampson from San Diego State. Lanier was with me at Austin Peay State University. Comes from a great offensive tree, and from the system that we run, and has been in it with Josh Heupel, and they're at San Diego State and has done a great job. And then Andy Townsend coming from the Eric Morris tree, being able to do what they did in North Texas, and so it's going to be a collaborative effort, And I think that with me, Lane, my personality naturally, like I am just naturally wired to be around people and to be around guys. I'm very in tune to even as a play caller, I've never felt that I'm distant from the defense or I'm distant from special teams, because I'm very intentional with my time with when we do special teams, being involved and being present and being around those guys and just little things around the building, noticing that, man, I haven't spoken to a DB in a couple of days. Let me go hang around the defensive backs and be around those guys. And so I think that being able to spread that is really important, but it's going to be a collaborative effort.
Yeah, I think that's a great mix of things, and that's encouraging. So something I found when I was actually looking through your coaching bio, and I don't think a lot of people know, is that this wasn't your first time as an FBS head coach. You were the Southern Miss interim head coach for a few games in 2020. Had that experience there kind of help you at Austin Peay and, mostly here at UTEP, because that is Conference USA, same conference and highest level of college football.
For sure. I think my time at Southern Miss in general, and when I got there in 2017, was there, all the way to 2020, I think helped me tremendously with this job and understanding the layout of Conference USA, understanding the layout of FBS football. The biggest change, not even from the head coach perspective, just in general, is the recruiting, right? Recruiting is just such a different level, such a different speed at the FBS level than any other level, and not to downgrade any of those levels, because it's hard and tenacious at those levels as well. But the type of guys you're looking for, being able to walk into school and understand, like, okay, that is an FBS type body, that's an FBS type guy, was something that I learned. And Jay Hobson, the head coach there, just I learned a ton of wisdom from him and from learning how to recruit, learning how to run a program. And there was a lot of really good things I picked up there. Like we talked about, that interim role, again, got told at 3:40 I was going to be the interim head football coach, and at 4:00 I'm speaking to the team.
Right.
And so that was a whirlwind. Heck, I got to this day I'm still perturbed about it, man. I got one loss on my record that actually I was coaching from my living room, because I had COVID, and so I didn't even get to coach in one of my losses, and so it was a very unique year, unique time, and very grateful for it, but it was certainly impactful.
So you obviously have an interesting coaching style, people might say. You used to have the 12 seconds for the snap and a few other things. And I saw one of your old assistant athletic directors called you a riverboat gambler, where...
Who was that? I need that name. Who said
I think
that?
it was when you were at East Texas Baptist assistant athletic director called you that. But it was in compliment, saying that, it's a very explosive style of football, but sometimes, you get a little bit worried and that something might go wrong. Do you still feel like you coach that way, where it is risky to where, a viewer might be like, oh, no, but then it might end up working? Yeah,
I mean, look, just who I am by nature. I think no matter what profession you're in, whatever, whether it's coaching or doing what you do, Lane, and whatever, like, you got to be yourself, at the end of the day. That doesn't mean that you do that in spite, right? If things aren't working and you don't adjust and make adjustments. I can tell you this, man, we used to have so many things in our offense that had nothing, like, we would never huddle. We would never do anything to simulate tempo. It was just, hey, it is what it is. This ball's the wall no matter what. And that got me in a lot of trouble early in my career. And I'll be transparent, over the course of time, we've even, to me, like, I think we've slowed down a lot, to be honest, even though our goal is, when we got you on your heels, to snap it every 12 seconds. And that's the timer we put our guys on. And we feel like we can operate effectively, in that time frame, that, hey, in the game, it's going to be easy. We try to train. That 12 seconds comes from training at an unrealistic pace in practice. And that's where that timer came from, because if you can do that in the game, it's going to feel slow. That's the goal. Very rarely do we snap the ball within 12 seconds in a game. Sometimes we're going lightning speed. But to your deal, I'm an aggressive person. I'm an aggressive mindset. Every single game, every single play call, is to win and to be, to put our team. And I think offensive football in general is about putting the defense on their heels, right? Whenever we don't have the tempo, though, that's what over the years we've adjusted and adapted to, is, being able to simulate tempo through shifts, motions, huddles. I mean, things that I think we were 16th in the country this year in pace of play, which is pretty good, pretty fast. But at the same time, I think we do a good job of managing, slowing the game down when need be, and not just banging our head against the wall. The other thing that's thrown a wrinkle in all of this, though, that is new to the game that you've seen over the years, is analytics. Okay. And analytics, I mean, literally, I've got a guy on the sideline that has got a book. And I mean, that book is built on, and every FBS coach dang near has this, but it's built on, whether you're an underdog, whether you're, picked to win, time, score, and it changes every quarter. It changes every first down, and so it's a very aggressive, and it's kind of a different train of thought, as opposed to, like, I'll give you an example, like Louisiana Monroe, right? Took a lot of flack for going forward on my own 30. Right, coming in the second half, we're down 2 scores. Keep in mind, we're on our own 30, and we throw a pass, we don't get it. Okay, it was 4th and 3 or something like that. Don't get the first down. They get the ball right there, and they score a field goal. They don't score a touchdown. The book says go in that situation, because if you punt the ball and they go on a methodical drive and waste 5 minutes in the second half, you're down 2 scores, and they kick a field goal. Right? Not only did you lose points, but you lost time. The book would rather say, hey, if they're going to score, do it freaking fast so you get the ball back, because more possessions give you more chances to get back into the game. It's a very unique way of thinking, but that's what analytics has brought to the game. Of course, I always have the choice to trump that, to say, hey, we're going to be a little more conventional here, and instincts do take over in that. But sometimes, I got to be myself, be a riverboat gambler, as my man said.
And in that Louisiana Monroe game, you guys do go down a couple possessions, but you do have those 2 chances at the end of the game, maybe because that 4th down decision earlier.
And I truly believe that the outcome, I truly believe that, and that's a very good point that you make. We actually discussed that after the game, is that if we don't do that and we flip the field, because again, it's also about how the other team is advancing the ball, and they were advancing the ball through running it. So if they're going to take that ball after we punted it, run, that clock is just ticking. And if they scored on that drive, we probably end up, we had 2 opportunities into that game to take the lead. And I bet you we only have 1, if that.
If even, yes.
If we had punted and they had gone down. So that's what it does.
Some people might say it's like, oh, you're playing Madden out there with these decisions, but there really is a method to these calls.
We're professionals, man. At the end of the day. Now, do the results always, go in our favor? No, but no way, shape, or form do we ever go into a game where our kids are not prepared, our coaches aren't prepared, and we don't have a plan of attack for our opponent. We're professionals. That's why we get paid to do what we do. Again, I wish I could snap my fingers and victories come spitting out because of those plans. But no, we have a method of the madness.
Now, something I've always wanted to ask a college football coach was just, I want to hear one recruiting story, whether it's something funny, whether it's just something crazy. I mean, we've seen Ed Orgeron talking about trying to get Adrian Peterson's dad out of jail, or whether it's, Lane Kiffin trying to get a guy out of high school in Ohio to come visit USC the next day and play there. What's one recruiting story you can tell right here?
As soon as you ask that, I got one that comes to mind. I got a couple, but the one that came to mind, I'm recruiting in Huntsville, Alabama at Southern Miss. And fly in, I hit a day recruiting, and then massive snowstorm hits, shuts us down, for a day. I had to take it screwed up all the schedule and stuff like that. And rental car couldn't get, all this stuff. So I go to I literally, they threw me to like 3 or 4 different rental car places, when I got there. And then I finally found a place in Huntsville, Alabama. I've already missed about 5 schools, and I'm freaking out. And they're like, Coach, the only thing we got on this lot is this 18-passenger van over here. And I'm like, well, give me the daggum van. I'm taking that thing. All right, so I'm in Southern Miss. I get in this van. I pull up. We got a kid that's committed to us. And I pull up, man, to the school in this white passenger 18-passenger van. And, hey, I just told her it's the best recruiting tool we got. I said, hey, it's a Golden Eagle Express. Coming to pick everybody up. Let's go. Let's go back to Hattiesburg. Let's go. And I put something on Twitter like that and just tried to make the best of it. So I did get some looks. I pulled up to a few practices, and they're kind of like, what is this? What does this joker think he's doing?
I know you could just say, I got 18 people in here. Let's get 11 guys. Let's get 1 coach. Let's bring an offense. Let's go back to Southern Miss.
Bro, that's exactly right. It was a Golden Eagle Express. So it turned out being a positive. I got a lot of flack for it, man, because it matters. Man, it matters what ride you're pulling up to the school in, man, and they weren't expecting a college coach to get out of that thing.
That's good. The Golden Eagle Express.
Yep.
Coach, when you look at your guys' schedule for next year, you really do think of it as, I think of it as an opportunistic schedule. Not that it's so hard, but that's opportunistic, because week 1, you're going to play Oklahoma. Then you go play 2 weeks later at Michigan, the biggest stage in North American sports. You go at Air Force. You go at New Mexico and Jason Eck. What a great year they had. In Chicago at Northern Illinois. Then at Vegas, UNLV. So coming into the Mountain West, it's not necessarily a harder schedule, but it's opportunistic for your guys. So how are you guys approaching that?
The way you just phrased that right there, because that's literally the phrase that I had with our team this morning.
Really?
Is it's opportunity. I had a coach one time in college right up on the board. He wrote it all together. I wish I could, show it to you. It's probably been done. You've probably seen it before, but, it looks like opportunity is nowhere. They put it all in one deal, right? When they write that on the board, and that's all about perspective. Instead of opportunity is nowhere, opportunity is now here. It depends on how you look at it, right? And we look at going to the Mountain West as an opportunity, to advance this program, going into year 3. We've got over 60% of guys that have been in our program either this is going into their 2nd year or going into their 3rd year, So while that portal gets crazy, and even times I feel like, man, I'm gonna have a new team every year, and to an extent you do, but you look around and we've got over 60% of year 2, year 3 guys that understand the culture and the standard. We're doing several things that in our run-throughs and our workouts that there's a lot of carryover. I was really impressed with the retention we've had since we've been back in terms of what we do, and being able to carry that to the new guys. So at the end of the day, it's about us. I don't care who we play. It's about the UTEP minors. You could sit there and look at all those games last year. If we control the controllables, right, maybe the outcome's different. This is going to be no different this year. Yes, we're going to play in an extremely competitive league, adding a team like North Dakota State, to this league, right? Won 10 out of the last 15 FCS national championships. We understand, what kind of program those guys are. You go through all these schools in the Mountain West and our non-conference schedule, it's going to be no question, a tough schedule, good teams, great coaches, but that's the opportunity that we have, is to go out and to, go compete against some of the best in the country, and to go, compete and put our best foot forward.
You talk about North Dakota State, their FCS powerhouse, joining the Mountain West. Have they told you guys anything? Do you know anything that you can share about, are they playing the Mountain West this year? Are they going to change the schedule for you guys?
They're going to play football. They move the Mountain West football only, and it's 2026. So we'll be. Again, I don't know how they're going to do the schedule. They're going to have to obviously redo some things, but they're going to play in 2026 in the Mountain West. So either, I don't know if it's a rotational deal, if we'll play them or if they'll play somebody else. But yeah, they're going to be in the Mountain West Conference. We're starting right now.
Some people might think North Dakota State, they're coming from a huge level down, FCS to FBS, but we saw James Madison make the jump from FCS to FBS. Great success they've had making the college ball playoff this year. So in my opinion, all it really does is elevate the Mountain West and, UTEP's competition.
100%. I mean, it elevates our league. I mean, North Dakota State is, you look at the FBS teams, the Power 4 teams that they've played. I mean, they've either beaten them or dang near gotten close to beating them. It elevates our league. I mean, you can look at labels. I think, again, the outside fan or something can look at, okay, because, again, categories make people comfortable. Right? FBS, FCS, D2, right? The reality is it's about the investment in those programs. You look at the programs that came up at Conference USA and had success. Just about every single one of those schools that came up from the FCS had success in Conference USA. It's about the level of investment, the level of support. There's a lot of history in those programs. There's a ton of history in North Dakota State. So, but again, it's all about us. It's all about what we do with our program. It's about what we're building. It's about providing clarity for our players, and it's about competing every day, snap to snap. And if we do that and we play to a standard and we control the controllables, then we can achieve what we want to achieve on the field.
Coach, I want to thank you so much for coming by the studio today, coming on an episode. I'm glad we were able to finally get going. I know a lot of people are going to be really excited about UTEP football now, not just here in El Paso, but hopefully many more places, and get excited for the Mountain West. Thank you, Coach.
No, 100%, Lane. I really appreciate you having me. And, Schoolyard Sports, you're doing an amazing job, man, with this deal. And it's an honor to be on. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Let's go Miners.
Yeah, picks up. Thank you, guys.